welcome to the next episode of Pints Podcast. I'm back in my normal habitat in Manchester.
Those Venetian blinds.
Yeah, James,
change
you're
scenery
not.
for me again.
Yeah.
Another new background for me. This is the lovely back wall and the side of the curtain of room 220 at the Premier Inn, Dartford.
Very specific.
Correct.
Someone could order you some random room service if you're still there tomorrow.
Well, yeah, that's right. Oh, that's true. I'm here tomorrow night as well. Yeah, please do. Phone up Premier Inn Dartford.
The classic
order me some lobster.
Thing.
Yeah, order me some lobster to the room. I would massively appreciate it. Yeah, it's very hot in London today, 29 degrees according to my phone. And we've just missed each other, Sean. You've just come back from London. Tell us why.
Yeah, well, I actually came back on Monday, but I feel like I've been back in body, but I feel like my mind's finally returning. As I think I said off camera, I feel slightly jet lagged. I went down to watch England, went down on the Friday and got up for Record Store Day on the Saturday. So we went to Rough Trade and just had no sleep and just it was a brilliant but long weekend, and I'm finally recovering.
What's the idea behind? I mean, I can kind of guess what Record Store Day is. Record Store Day is generally, but tell us a little bit more about it, because I didn't know what it was until you mentioned it.
Essentially, it's a lot of limited edition records. For example, there was a Manchester band, Woo Life, who a couple of my friends were going for. They were quite a mysterious band who released one album 10 years ago, and I think to purchase it you'd have to pay a ridiculous price, whereas obviously it was back for this Record Store Day. I think there was 12 copies at Rough Trade, and we managed to get 2 of them. So yeah, it was good. But I think I picked myself up a Magic Gang album. You get random records that are quite rare to buy, and for some reason the Magic Gang's debut album was. So I've got that now. And I think I also mentioned off camera that I missed out on the Lathams that had sold out by the time we got in to Rough Trade, which wasn't great, but you win some, you lose some.
You do. So how big is your record collection now, would you say?
Well, considering I only got a record player at Christmas, it's not that big. But yeah, I used to collect loads of CDs, and I think I realised that CDs aren't really popping off anymore, are they? So I thought I like collecting music, so I wanted to
I can't remember who the guest was when we discussed this. Might have even been this might be a throwback to Clinton Baptiste and Alex Lowe when we had those two guys on. Both fantastic guests. When I mentioned that I think this year or the last 12 months is the first long that record sales have exceeded CD sales again.
Yes. No, it was Clinton Baptiste. The man, the myth. I think it was Alex you were speaking to at the time, but yeah, no, right. You're right. So yeah, I'd say I've got about between 10 and 12 off the top of my head.
Yeah. But, Mike Skinner's disappointed this week.
Yes. Yeah. I actually saw a little clip of him. I think he wasn't best pleased with the decision to push the extension 4 weeks ahead. I think it's just
back.
Yeah, it's just before your wedding, though, isn't it? So you quite
5 days. Yeah, we've now got 5 days. We previously had 4 weeks and 5 days for restrictions to ease. Cutting it fine now, Bosler. So restrictions are due to lift on the Monday, and I am due to get married on the Saturday. That will be going ahead either way. Boris has kindly confirmed that there will not be any limit in terms of restrictions on guests, obviously aside from the venue itself having to adhere to whatever its COVID-safe limit is. Thankfully, for the amount of guests that we have at our wedding, that doesn't affect us. But obviously, the evening will be very, very different.
Yeah, I think it's going to be us sat there watching you and Jess do Oops Upside Your Head on the dance floor. Well,
I don't know who's leaked the information to you that's our first dance, but I'm not very happy about it. But fingers crossed it all gets lifted 19th of July and we will be sorted. Sean's now in the nightmare situation because he is part of the James Riley Stag Do Planning Committee.
Unofficially.
And from what I understand, though I'm not in the loop, you're probably a little bit stuck now, or you certainly were earlier on this morning.
My phone was buzzing as we joined this call, so things are getting spoken about. I think obviously not ideal situation, but I think we'll make the most of it. I'm sure it'll be a good day either way. But aside from that, have you seen any of the Euros?
Yeah, not much of it. Well, I've probably watched more games than the average person, but that's because they've been on a screen in front of me while I've been playing music. I've been gigging for the most part while the football's on. Caught the England game. Great result for the lads. I was saying to Sean, kind of before we started recording, Croatia, it's an obvious thing to say, but Croatia were the real concern for our group. Czech could pose a threat. They played well against Scotland, but I might shoot myself in the foot by saying this, but most teams in the competition would look good against Scotland, so who knows? Ask me again at 10 p.m. on Friday. We'll see what the result is.
I'm not as confident as you going into the Scotland game, but just based on the rivalry side of things, I think they've got a good team. We should win, but obviously we know England well enough now to expect the unexpected. So hopefully,
Scotland are certainly going to be fired up, aren't they? They're certainly going to be fired up. They're going to bring the game to us. I love saying us as in like part of the squad. But they'll be ready to bring the game to us. So it'll be an interesting one. And once again, I'm gigging for the entire duration of the match. So,
have you played Three Lions yet?
No, I have not, but I have played Whole Again and sang the Southgate alternative lyrics quite a few times.
Are you going to learn Three Lions? Or
I know it, I've just not played it. Waiting for the moment, Sean.
Is that at full time of the England-Scotland game on?
I think it might be. I think I might debut Three Lions at full time if we win.
Good stuff. And that is a segue from sport into music, because we've got a music guest again this week. Max joined us. He's from the band Deco, who rose to prominence during the pandemic as they were doing a lot of 80's mashup lockdown covers that went viral on social media, and they were basically brightening people's days, I think, during what was a very miserable time. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. They've used the additional kind of free time that was granted to them as a result of the pandemic in an incredibly creative and productive way, and it was great to get him on. Obviously, we've recorded this intro a few days later. The podcast is due to come out tomorrow. We're recording this on Wednesday evening. He's a really great lad. We had a good laugh with him, and I'm looking forward to editing the whole thing over tonight so that I can listen to it back.
Nice, yeah. So, should we get him in? And we're joined this week by Max from Deco. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm brilliant, thank you.
Good.
Jim?
Thanks for joining us, mate. Massively appreciate it.
No worries at all. It's a pleasure.
Now, the first question I need to ask you, when a friend of mine was asking about the podcast we got coming up, I told him we had Deco coming on, and he thought it was on about the Portuguese footballer. So, for the sake of the podcast, could you please confirm whether you are or aren't Deco, the former Chelsea and Portugal international?
Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm part of the band.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, we'll start with talking about lockdown. It sparked some creativity, particularly within your band, didn't it? So how have you found the whole lockdown, and can you tell us about the origins of all the sort of the viral videos you've been doing?
Well, yeah, I guess the thing with all of the lockdowns is it's changed things a lot for musicians and bands and so on. Like we had last year, we had like a huge summer books. We were potentially going to be supporting the likes of Lewis Capaldi and so on, playing Glastonbury. And things like that. And obviously none of that happened. And I think for a lot of bands that could possibly, put a massive down on things, and it's kind of a make or break situation. But we spent the first kind of lockdown writing loads of songs. I think we wrote like 40 new songs. And then the second one, we thought it's time to focus on our like TikTok kind of game, I guess. And I did a silly 80's mashup of the sea shanty that was going viral at the time, which did quite well. And I thought, I actually like really enjoyed that, because I wasn't enjoying TikTok before that, because I felt like I was struggling to find our niche. But I thought, with doing that, I thought, I could definitely do more of this, because I actually enjoy it, and people seem to like it. So I thought, maybe I should do a famous song in the style in the 80s style. So I thought, Wonderwall or Arctic Monkeys. What about something like that? And I sat down and started tinkering on the keyboard, and literally started playing the Brunsky Beat song, and thought, well, maybe I'll just mash up the two songs and see how that sounds. That's kind of where it all happened, really. And then as soon as that was the first one we did, and as soon as that went down like crazy, we kind of had to do more, I guess. So yeah, it was kind of one idea, and then that was it.
Yeah. So obviously a lot they're 80s inspired. Are you personally 80s inspired, or was it just for these mashups?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why it's worked really well for us, is because our actual original music, because we're like an originals band, we're not just mashup band, is all very 80s inspired. So I guess it kind of links back to that. But for sure. I mean, my parents were kind of, I guess, my age in the 80s. So when I was a kid, I used to like flick through their records and stuff and pick out some 80s bangers. So I guess I was subconsciously influenced by it all.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, obviously you're originals band. I'm assuming you've picked up a lot more fans now that have off the back of your videos as well. So is it a case of some of your older music is now resurfacing? People are rediscovering some music from a few years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And it's kind of a difficult thing to kind of get that conversion of people that have liked you because of a cover. But, I reckon you probably get maybe 20-30% of the people that have found you. So, I mean, we've gained a genuine following from doing these fun covers, I guess. So it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah, I think the tracks speak for themselves, don't they? I think obviously the catchy indie pop tracks, and I think people have found that. I think a lot of the music as well is kind of brings quite happy vibes with it, and I think that's what people have needed during
sure.
lockdown.
Sure, and I think the same with the mashups. They're all a bit of fun. I think people needed something to kind of take their mind off it.
Yeah, and you're back gigging now. You've done your London gig. What did that feel like to be back out there?
Yeah, it was amazing. We just sort of a run of four or five shows, which was really exciting. And it kind of, people keep asking, what was it like, people sitting down? And to be honest with you, I didn't notice, because I was just so buzzed to be back up there. I mean, I guess on reflection, it would have been even more amazing to be if everyone was sort of standing up and jumping about, because that's kind of what things are normally like at our gigs. But we had the equally good time, and we played loads of new songs, and it was just a very good experience for us. Just being back out there, sure.
Yeah, and you obviously mentioned new tracks, because no one's obviously had the chance to see the whites of people's eyes, and it must be nice to finally be able to release some new music and see people's reactions in the flesh.
Yeah, exactly, and it's also good because we can try out these new songs and see which ones are going down well, and then it gives us a kind of inkling of what to release. So
yeah. And obviously the Radio 1 did their virtual big weekend, or they were doing obviously performances. What was it like to get the call up for that? Did you feel like that's the icing on the cake in terms of, like, as we move towards coming out of lockdown, going towards the future of live music? You've now got this Radio 1 support must be brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was nice because I feel like we obviously got. I think the mashups reached everybody, but I feel like it was quite a lot of our following diversified in the sense that quite a lot of it's the right way to say this. An older audience started to follow us because of all the 80s stuff. So it was nice to kind of, be exposed to a slightly younger audience again with the Radio 1 stuff. It kind of reinforced that. 'Cause, our following before that was very kind of maybe sort of late teens, early 20s. So it was kind of nice to get support from 81 from that perspective. Yeah, and then they played us again the other day, which is great. And yeah, things seem to be going pretty well with them. So,
And did that diversification in age range, was that replicated in your audience at the London gigs? Did you notice that?
Yeah, definitely, all across. But it's like we had a few comments from some of the people that came, like, probably your oldest fan, and it's like, do you know what? Like, it doesn't that kind of thing doesn't matter to us as long as people enjoy the music. That's the main thing for us. We don't care who it is, how old they are. There's no rule with us, so to speak. So yeah. It was kind of nice, kind of refreshing.
Yeah, and a lot of the bands I've spoken to have spoke about how they've had to embrace social media. They've had no choice to embrace social media as a means of promoting their music. Was that something that you'd done beforehand, or because obviously you've mastered it to a T during this, but is that something that came naturally?
I think we've always been all right at it. I think during normal times, we gained a following through social media. There's a couple of different tactics, but we found that as soon as lockdown hit, those kind of tactics didn't work because you didn't have the live gigs to back it up. Do you know what I mean? Like, you didn't have the content necessarily that would excite people, so you definitely had to change. You had to totally change, and it took us a while to kind of adapt to it. It took. From March until January, we had the opportunity. We had all that time in the first one, even though we were writing as well, to kind of adapt to this new social media style. Like TikTok, I guess, has taken over in that time as well. So yeah, it took us a little while, but we were doing well at it before, but it was totally different. It's changed considerably, I'd say, in the last year and a half, probably. And I think a lot of bands and artists have definitely struggled with that. I mean, I've spoken to quite a few mates that are in bands, and like, how are you doing it? I was like, there's no rule. I think the best thing is to just do something that you enjoy and hope that it resonates with some other people. And we were just very lucky that whatever I did or we did that.
Yeah. And how hard was it not to be able to meet up with the band during obviously we can now, but how difficult was it when you were all living separately to sort of make new music?
Well, we were in the first lockdown. We actually lived together. It was a bit strange. Me and so we've got two guys called John. Me and one of the Johns went to other John's flat the weekend before the first lockdown. I took 4 changes of clothes with me. I went on the Friday. I think the lockdown happened on Monday. I took 4 changes of clothes thinking, I won't be here long. And we just obviously stayed there because the whole time, for the whole kind of 3 months, which was like, ended up being, a little bit difficult in the end because we'd all just probably got sick of each other, but it was so productive. So that was really good. But then, the January and the January lockdown and the February lockdown was, it was difficult, but I was doing the mashup stuff, and then we got the opportunity and we got like the passes to kind of be key workers as entertainment. We got the opportunity to go up to Manchester and perform on CBBC Saturday Mashup, and because of that we had a big page saying that we're contributing towards the entertainment, and therefore the kind of restrictions are wavered for us. We still had to stay socially distanced and such, but we still saw each other, so it was good.
Yeah,
very lucky.
And it's odd that they mentioned that, because a lot of the industries felt like they haven't been recognised for the sort of important contributions they make to people's lives. Did you feel the flip side of it as well at all through the pandemic in terms of creative industries?
I guess so. Kind of how the entertainment kind of sector in terms of live, it's like one of the last things to get going properly. It still hasn't got going properly, has it? There's still everything's still socially distanced, and I think for a while, I think there probably still isn't, but there wasn't a lot of support for kind of independent venues, and it's difficult it's easier being a musician or a creative because you can be creative during the time. But if you're a sound guy or someone that depends on these events, I guess that's something that I saw. I've got friends that do that, and they've had to kind of totally find different work, which is obviously difficult to see happen. But yeah, so I've definitely seen the flip side, but there was obviously perks to doing the mashups, which helped us kind of get out of the house, which was a real blessing. And we didn't want to talk about it too much at the time because we didn't want to make people feel that. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to boast about it, but we were very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even musicians and artists themselves were in some ways, I don't know if ostracised is too strong a word, but they were told to retrain, weren't they?
Yeah.
Or they were certainly advised to. And I think you guys are a perfect example of exactly why that statement couldn't have been any more false, really, from Hancock.
Yeah,
because
Rishi.
Yeah. It was Rishi Sunak, wasn't it? Yeah, not Hancock. Apologies. Apologies, Matt.
Yeah.
Same thing, basically.
No, so we'll move on to the theme of the podcast, which we briefly discussed before recording, and it could be interesting because we think you might not be prepared for this question. So this could be putting you on the spot here. Basically, it's called Pints Podcast because we ask each guest for 3 musicians, past or present, that they could choose to sit around a table with and go for a drink. So any 3 musicians.
Okay.
We also kind of ask people to give a bit of description of where they're imagining the setting being. So is it a classic pub, a swanky bar?
Okay.
This is all going to be off the cuff for you, so I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Go on, who's your first choice?
Oh, I reckon a nice old school pub.
Yes.
Sort of 18th, 19th century pub. No, 19th century pub. Yes. Some really old school. Always been a good boozer. And I reckon George Michael would be pretty interesting.
Great.
Okay.
Matt Bellamy from Muse. He's a guy who's always.
That's a good pick.
It's like he's got some crazy ideas and probably some really good stories. Who else? This last one's a tough one.
It's interesting you chose Matt Bellamy because obviously he's is it the Jaded Hearts Club band with Miles Kane? So you could be creating your own little super group here.
Yeah, that was good. And then maybe Paul McCartney. That's such an obvious one, but he's such an unbelievable songwriter. So he'd be a good one to know.
So what is it about?
You're in your 19th century pub. You've got those 3 guys around a table and yourself. What kind of things are you going to be talking about? How do you think those guys are going to be interacting with each other?
I reckon Matt Bellamy and Paul McCartney will be talking about gear, not as a musical gear. And George Michael would probably be talking about gear. No, I'm joking. No, I don't know. That's really bad. I'd like to ask lots of different questions to those guys, but I'd just like to hear George Michael sing in person. I think because he's got such a ridiculous voice, or did have such a ridiculous voice. So yeah, pretty straight up answer, not maybe very obvious, but obviously I picked them because of who they are. So.
Did you do any Wham mashups? Was that what?
We did one. We did one, but it was with Dua Lipa, and we thought we'd do a slightly more modern song with it, and it was fine. Didn't go down as well as the others, but it was good fun to do, sure. And people always say that there's a bit of George Michael in your voice and stuff, so it'd be interesting to.
Yes, it's one of the biggest compliments a singer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, obviously is. I don't agree with them, but.
Here's a bit of trivia for you. I once acted as legal representative on behalf of a woman who used to work as a cleaner on George Michael's estate.
Really?
She tripped on a defective pavement on a pathway leading up to his house and smashed her head in. These details of the fact that she was employed by George Michael's estate and was in fact working at his old house were not disclosed to me. So when I went on Google Maps to find the location and dropped the little man, I was greeted by a huge shrine, big massive picture of George Michael surrounded by flowers and all sorts.
I saw it because I used to live near, not too far from there.
Oh, did you? It was so that was the first thing. I literally dropped the man, and that was what was on my screen. So I was like, I can't believe this has happened. And obviously, I found out later that she was employed by the estate, so it obviously made sense.
Yeah. But in terms of your choices, though, considering it was off the cuff, I think fair play. They were quite fast, instinctive.
Kind of obvious ones to me, I think.
Yeah. So moving on, as we hopefully, there might be a slight delay to 21st of June, but hopefully normality is very, coming shortly around the corner. Yeah. What are your plans now for 2021 in terms of maybe new releases and gigs?
So gigs, we've got loads of festivals booked. So we really hope they go ahead. I think the first one we've got is like 21st of July or something like that. So hopefully that doesn't get pushed back too long and festivals can go ahead because, they were kind of our bread and butter before all this kicked off. So it'd be nice to get back to that after all this has happened, and because we always used to get such a buzz from the festivals, like get loads of new followers and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see that on top of the mashups, how things turn out for us. Also, release wise, we're currently we're doing a huge amount of writing and working with a label. We've not signed anything yet, so it's kind of all dependent on all the stuff that we've written and if they like it and so on. So in terms of when, I don't know. Hopefully by the end of summer, things all being well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, good stuff. I was actually going to ask you before, are you going to incorporate, or did you incorporate the London gigs, the mashups in the live shows?
Yeah, we played the Wonderwall and Small Town Boy one.
Nice.
But I think we're going to probably learn another one to play live, just because I think there probably there will be a considerable amount of people that have come from that, so it'd be nice to just sort of play one or two more instead.
And are there any particular festivals you're looking forward to getting out there playing?
We always love playing. There's a couple of festivals. They're kind of like medium-sized, so 15 to 20,000 people. Like Why Not Festival and Truck Festival. They're always really good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some others. 110 is one of our favourites as well. It's actually really small, but they have, don't know how the hell they do it, but they have some really good acts playing.
I'm going there for the first time this year.
Yeah, you are.
I've been Why Not a few times, but I've never been 110, so I'm going this year.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like one of our favourites to go as an artist because you kind of camp in the artist area and it's all the stages are alternated, so no one's playing at the same time. So everyone is at the stage that the music's happening at. So there's no kind of clashes. So you never get like one band that's got no one and one band that's got everyone kind of thing.
Yeah, no, sounds good. All the pictures look class as well, and I've been looking on the website. But thanks very much for your time. I think as we touched on earlier, I think all the stuff you've been doing throughout lockdowns probably helped so many people through what's been an awful time. So thank you on behalf of Twitter.
No worries. Yeah, a couple of people said that to me over the gigs. When we met people, and I was really surprised to hear, that we had done that. So it's obviously really unintentional, but I'm obviously really happy that we have been able to do something that people have enjoyed and helped through that absolutely rubbish time. So.
No, they've been great. And just before we go, where can people find you across socials, etc.?
So it's Deco Band on Instagram, Deco Band UK on Twitter, Deco Band on Facebook. It's either Deco Band or Deco Band UK, basically on all the platforms. And we're on Spotify and Apple Music and such. So go check us out.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for your time, mate. I am suffering from a sore throat, didn't speak very much. As you may or may not have noticed, I'm usually more talkative than this. But thank you so much for your time, mate. We do massively appreciate it. And there's some really good picks for the Fantasy Pints as well.
Cool. Cheers, mate. Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate.
Brilliant. Cheers. Yes, that was Max from Deco. Not to be confused with the Portuguese footballer. I feel silly for putting my Sporting Lisbon top on.
Great lad. He was a great lad.
Yeah. No, and I think, as I said, they've been one of the prominent forces in terms of bringing some positivity online throughout the whole pandemic. Really.
Yeah, some of those mashups are fantastic. I've taken some inspiration from some of those. You might say rip them off, put them in my own set, and I can tell you that they go down well live as well. Although I will say, if you go and watch Deco, you're going to get a much more high quality version of those mashups than if you came to see me on Matthew Street somewhere. That is a promise.
Well, I think you're doing yourself an injustice there, but he mentioned at the end of the interview that they're playing Why Not, which is a nice segue, or as Clinton Baptiste would say, swagway into the competition, because on today at midnight it will close. 2 tickets you can win on our Twitter at Northern Chorus _ 2 general admission Why Not Festival tickets. And it's going to be one of the best festivals this summer. And
to be clear, today means the 17th of June, the day of posting this, not the day of recording.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Northern Chorus _, Instagram at Northern Chorus, Facebook at Northern Chorus UK, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Goodbye.